Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming today. It's the beginning of a new quarter, and April is a financial literacy month. And so we have a lot of exciting things planned for you during the whole month of April, culminating in a final event at the first week of May on blockchain. And just to let you know, we reduced the fee on that. It used to be $30. That is the only non-free event that we have this year, and we reduced that fee by half to $15. And so, but if you do need financial assistance, please don't hesitate to come and talk to me about it, or to just email Sally, who also works at the Center for Financial Wellness. Before we get started, just some housekeeping items. You see these box lunches. And these are made possible by our general sponsor, South Credit Union. And also we just ask that at the end, instead of throwing it in the garbage can that is outside, I'm gonna have some Panera bags out in the back. If you could just put it in there, we're gonna sort it and we're gonna recycle what we need to, and also compost what we need to as well. And so that would be really appreciated. And also this event is scheduled till 1:20. Because I know that many of you guys have classes starting at 1:30. And so if you need to leave before this event is actually over, please utilize a back door in the back. And also if you have any questions after this event, both our presenters here will be staying around if you have any questions, okay? And so just to get things started, as I said before, April is a financial literacy month. And if you guys have been reading the headlines, there's been a lot of news about the bank failures, and which is causing a lot of uncertainty. And at the same time, we need a basic understanding of how to safeguard our hard-earned money. And so therefore, I feel like this topic that we're actually presenting here today is very timely considering everything that is going on. And I know they're going to be talking about how to safeguard your money through the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the National Credit Union Administration, if you have your money with banks and credit unions. And if you have your money in investment or brokers firms, they're also protected by Security Investor Protection Corporation. I just wanted to throw that out to you. And so just to get started, I'm going to introduce our two presenters here today. First, I'd like to introduce Jen Reed. She's the Vice President of Public Relations with South Credit Union. And she has been an incredible partner here at University of Washington, not just in financial wellness events, but as well as a fintech event that is also happening. And you see a little postcard related to that. And next, I'd like to also introduce Amber Warner. She is a branch manager of the Tacoma branch of South Credit Union. And so here we go. Okay. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. It's nice to see you all. Some of you, I recognize your faces, so thanks for coming back. Hopefully these lunch and learns have been helpful, and you'll find today's topic really beneficial. So basics of banking. It's something that we all need to know. How many of you have bank accounts? Most of you? That's awesome. Did you know that I believe it's 5.9 million Americans do not have a bank account? So that means like if they have a job and they're getting a check, they're having to go to a proprietary lender or like a payday loans to cash their check. We'll talk about that a little bit later today, but they're paying a percentage to those organizations to cash those checks for them. So we try to encourage people to know that you're better off to bank with a financial institution and have your money where it's going to be in a safe location where you're not having to pay high fees. You're not keeping your money under your bed or somewhere in a sock drawer at home. This is going to be a crazy story. I'll start off with telling you all about. I told Amber about it the other day. Hisuk heard this because y'all have probably met Sally, who works with Hisuk. But Sally told me a story about her. I think it was her husband. He and his brother, when they were younger, they didn't want to go to the bank to put their money in. So they would throw the money in a glove compartment in their truck, and they would just go and get the cash when they needed it. And they just keep putting money in there. And one day they went in there to take the money out, and a bunch of mice had created a nest in the glove compartment, and they started eating the money. So that was the first time I'd heard about mice taking advantage of you and eating your money, but another reason to have a bank. So we want this to be an open conversation. We know that talking about finances isn't always easy. So as we're talking, Please feel free to ask questions, share your stories, your experiences, or maybe friends or families that you know of, because that's how we all get better about speaking about this topic. That's something that we don't do in this country, is talk about our finances. You're all students, and I know some people have heard this statistic who've talked to me before, but you're all students, and I find this kind of interesting. Our marketers have been doing some research, and recently we learned that people don't like to talk about money so much that they would rather talk to people about having an STD than talking about finances. So our goal here is today is to overcome that. So thanks for being here today, and we'll get started. So the basics of banking. So how many of you are part of a credit union? Or I know you said a bank, you have financial institutions, but credit unions, that's great. We are not here to push credit unions, but we're here to explain the difference between a credit union and a bank. So a lot of similarities. We have similar products and services that we're going to offer to our members or customers. So that's a key word that's different, members and customers. If you're a member of a credit union, you have an account with us, you are an owner. Versus at a bank, they work with customers because they have stockholders who are invested in their bank, and they're making decisions on behalf of their stockholders. Whereas at a credit union, we're making our decisions based off of what's in the best interest of our membership. So we're reinvesting within our community here in the area. We are listening to our members about what their needs are. If we need to, right now, currently, we're looking at, we have 26 branches from Everett down to Olympia, but do we have membership in Issaquah that might be a benefit from us having a location there? Credit unions also work together. So anybody here a member of BECU or Washington State Employees? Great organizations. We work together because we're smaller than other financial institutions. So if you needed to access your account with either of those credit unions and you couldn't get to their locations to work with their branch staff, you could stop into a Sound Credit Union and you could access your account with them at no charge. So you can pay any bills that you might have with that institution. You can work with the tellers, you can transfer money, anything like that. So that's where we're a little bit different than other financial institutions. We are community chartered, like I had mentioned. Banks might be nationally or locally, you know, on a national or local level. A great example is Columbia Bank in Umpqua. They're a local regional financial institution here in the area. But the difference between the two of us, we're insured by and regulated by different organizations. So National Credit Union Administration oversees all of the credit unions, and the FDIC oversees banks. But both are insured up to $250,000 for your account. And that really is the difference between credit unions and banks. Does that make sense? So the benefits of having an account. We kind of talked about it earlier, making sure that your money's in a safe location. How about organizing your finances? Does anybody work with a budget? You have a budget that you try to stay in? That's awesome. What about, are you using your online tools, like looking at mobile banking? Anybody doing that? Yeah. I get in trouble from my husband all the time. He says that he can't go and surprise me with anything because I always know if he went and got a haircut, because I'm always looking at our app to see where our money is going. How are we spending it? That's something we really all need to get better at, is understanding where our money is going. So your bank financial institution should be able to provide you with online tools that help you see how much is going to housing, how much is going to eating out. Anybody look at that one? Because that's never fun to look at. You know, if you're going to Starbucks and getting a coffee every day for $5, that adds up real quick. And so looking at that and trying to set goals to understand where your money is going is really important. Then you gain that control, which is really important. And a lot of us don't have control. So if we can start to build habits and understanding our money, that's really important. So the security of your funds. So having your money in a financial institution will make it so that somebody's not just going to walk into your house and steal your money like we talked about. You can earn interest. So if it's a savings account, checking account, there could be dividends associated with it. Those percentages might be smaller, but that's where you could look at other products that are available, like maybe a high yield money market, where if you have $5,000 in an account, it's going to generate more interest at a higher interest rate, which can help you to save money that way. Anybody do person-to-person payments? Anybody using Venmo or Zelle, anything like that? So it's a great feature. I mean, my son is a little bit younger than you all, but as soon as he turned 16, it's like set up a Venmo. You need Venmo. So if your friends don't have cash, they can send you money because you're going to be driving them everywhere. And I'm not just here to give you gas money. So things to think about. So we talked about this a little bit, free check cashing. So has anybody ever gone to payday lending and tried to cash a check or anywhere like that? So it's expensive, right? So if you don't have a bank account, Amber, why don't you tell the story you just told a couple minutes ago about a member who recently came in?
Oh, absolutely. So that's part of my job is that every day I get to help people. I'm member facing because I do work in a branch, and we had a young lady who works in the community come in, and she was explaining that she works locally and she gets a paycheck locally. And so she goes and she cashes her paycheck. She does not have an account. And she shared with me that over the course of this last year, she spent over $1,200 cashing her paychecks. And so she also had cash that she wanted to deposit because the convenience of having a debit card. I mean, Visa, MasterCard, these are things that you can use everywhere. And so it's widely accepted. Whereas we know that the world's changed in the last few years, and a lot of people don't want to deal with necessarily cash. And so it gives you that additional opportunity to have that. I'm happy to say that we were able to do that for her. We were able to successfully get that completed.
Yeah. Yeah, and you should be able to find financial institutions that are out there that will offer you services, offer you products, such as a checking account that is free. I mean, what I always say when I go and talk to someone is that as long as you have above $0 in your account, it really shouldn't cost you anything, right? We all need to be responsible and make sure we don't go below that. We can't just spend money we don't have if it's out of a checking account. But if we're all managing that and going out and researching the financial institutions that are out there and their products that they're offering, we should be able to find one that's not going to have high fees that will benefit us. And then we're not spending $1,200 a year. $1,200, that's a lot of money. That's maybe 2-3 car payments. It's paying rent. It's buying food to feed you and your family. That's really important. So another convenience with having an account is bill pay. Anybody here use bill pay to manage their bills? Yeah. I laugh. My in-laws still send their bills in the mail. They write checks. My father-in-law thinks it's going to build his credit. It's not. God bless him. But using these tools that are out there, whether it's bill pay or with the institution that you're paying the bill for, going online and paying that, those are really important. And being, like Amber just said, having a debit card that can be utilized all over the United States and internationally is really a benefit to you. Easier to track your cash, right? Because you may not save your receipts. If you're spending cash and it's just gone, I don't always save my receipts. And so if I have it through my online banking, I can track it by utilizing a debit card regularly. So you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So like I said earlier, we were able to successfully do things for the young lady that I was speaking to. I think that it's important that when you're looking for a financial institution, there's certain things that you should consider when you're opening your account. And these are like open conversations that you're going to want to have. And wherever you're going, you should be comfortable going up and speaking about this. That's something that they specialize in. They do this thing day in, day out. And so when you're speaking to them, some of the key things that they may ask you is like, how do you want to use your account? Whether that be that you're going to use a debit card or you're going to need to have a savings account that's attached. How much are you planning to save? What's your future look like? These kinds of things. Are we going to be doing a personal account? Are we going to be doing a business account? Are there certain things that you may be required to bring in to open these accounts? And then What kind of services do they provide? What are you looking to do? Are you looking for a person-to-person payment? Do you want to have that ease of access? Do you want to have these Venmo, Zelle, different platforms that we offer when we do person-to-person payments? And then, of course, always research and compare. This is your money. You're going to be putting your money somewhere. I want to be confident wherever I store my money, and I would want the same for you. And so always ask questions. Ask those questions, and hopefully they've got an answer for you right then and there. And sometimes if they don't, they're going to find it for you. Every experience that I've ever had in any kind of banking institution, for sure.
And I think that that's really important, is trying to build these relationships. Y'all may not go into a bank all the time. How many of you, has anybody gone into the bank in the last year? Not really, right? Because you can do so much online. You have, that's great. We're happy that you're still going in, right?
It's job security for me. But I'm happy to answer phone questions too, and do different things like that. So we kind of just go with the flow.
Right. But making sure you're working with an institution that you can trust and you understand, you find out what they're doing to give back in the community. What are they doing to help their members, their customers, to benefit them? I think that's really important to do your research. And I think this younger generation is really good about making sure that the ethics of the organizations that they are working with align with their own personal ethics. So please make sure you're just doing that research. So, and asking questions. There's no question when you're going in to talk with the financial institution, just like anything, there's no silly questions or anything like that. They're experts. I don't know everything, and so I'll go talk to Amber and her team to help me. So want to talk about different types?
Of course. So these are just different types of checking accounts, and they're very comparable in the market, right? And so here we've got Prime Savings. That's a membership based thing here for us. And so most of the time every single time we're going to open a Prime Savings, or we're going to open a minor savings depending on age. And then of course we offer different products like secondary savings. We have IRA savings, health savings accounts, money markets, checking accounts, different types of checking accounts that you can get into. So these are some things that are important too when you're looking at getting a financial institution. Maybe you can get a savings account at certain financial institutions, and you can have access to your account via these online platforms, or have a card that's attached to that. And then as far as for checking accounts, is that going to be something that I can use a debit card with? Do I have bill pay services with this? And so these are just the different types that are offered kind of across the board. You're going to find that most financial institutions are going to offer you savings in a checking account. So commonly we've got like checking accounts. This is something else that you want to really definitely pay attention to when you're looking for an account, is what are my fees going to look like? How much is it going to cost me to have this account? And is there a minimum requirement for me? And so for example, we've got this, let's say the cashback checking here. There's two separate different requirements that you could fall under. So you could either be age 55 greater, then that account would be free for you. Or you could follow under the requirement of having a direct deposit of at least $500 or more per month. So that could be multiple deposits, and you sign up for electronic statements. A lot of us don't like paper mail anyways. So electronic statements, super simple. Do that when you get into online banking. And if you're going to have money coming in from a source as an electronic transfer, that would be considered a direct deposit. And so these are important things to look at. And then what am I going to benefit from that? Well, for example, this one, every time you use a debit card, you get 1% of the transaction amount. That whenever you swipe your debit card, you could get a free $10 per month. There you go. You just paid for 2 of those Starbucks coffees.
Yep.
So that's a benefit of that. If you're like, I'm maybe not going to have that, then is there a free service? Well, let's opt you into that one. We talked about the savings accounts. So you look at the savings accounts that we offer, you got money market. You get to earn a little bit of a higher dividend rate. So the way that we have them separated here is you've got the dividend rate and the annual percentage yield. So the dividend rate is going to be your monthly payout. You're going to get a monthly payout every month under this dividend rate, and then it's compounded over the course of a year for your annual percentage yield. So it can fluctuate a little bit every month because we're doing that for you.
Just another way to try to save more money and have it in a safe spot. Yes. Yes, great question. Yes, great topic. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the an FSA, a lot of the times that can be an employer sponsored. And so you can do that automatically as a deduction from your paycheck. Maybe you have a high deductible health plan. And so you're going to end up paying a lot out of pocket for your health expenses over the course of the year. And you want to be able to make sure that those things can be considered tax deductible. And so maybe your employer doesn't offer that because they're small or whatever it may be. So you can go into the financial institution and you can say, hey, I'm going to open this health savings account. So then you can be in control of that. And every month you could put money into that health savings account, or you know that that expense is going to come up. I've got to go get new contacts. That's going to cost me X amount of money. I'm going to go put that into my health savings account. Then I can use my health savings account debit card or my FSA debit card, right? Depending on what product I'm choosing. And so that is something that we offer in-house as well.
And an employer can do deposits into your health savings account. So typically it's through an insurance plan that the employer has set up for their employees. So we will go out and we'll help them, their employees, we go out and help open accounts, just because it's a lot of employers don't want their employees to have to take time out of their life for this product that they're going to provide. So we'll go out and help them, and then they'll get a debit card with that. But with a health savings account, so the funds that go in there can only be used for things that are associated with healthcare. So, and you can get audited by the IRS. So if they go through and see that you went to Best Buy and bought an Apple laptop, they're going to be like, that was $1,000 and you owe money. And they're going to tax you for that too. So health savings accounts, they're strictly just for healthcare. So you could use it for doctors' copays, doctor bills, prescriptions, contacts, anything like that. And if you decide at one point that you don't want to use, the funds roll over every year. So you can have up to $7,000 a year, something around there. I don't know the exact amount, but it's in between like $6,500 and $7,200 a year that you can put into a health savings account. You don't have to use it all by the end of the year like you do with an FSA account, right? The flexible spending, you have to use it all or else you lose it. HSA accounts roll. So yeah, they can deposit it into your account. So your employer you can give them your direct deposit. They can have it go directly into the account. You can also set it up so you have direct deposit going in there, and then you can use those funds however you want. And if you wanted to, if you decided you no longer wanted to have a health savings account, you can take those funds and you could invest it into other investment products, but wouldn't have to be an HSA account from that point forward.
Then we get to talking about different things.
Right. We need advisors here for that.
Right.
So Bank on Washington. So we know, like I said earlier, that 5.9 million people do not have bank accounts. And part of the problem with that is they aren't able to go into a financial institution and open an account. And so Bank on Washington has come on to, or has created a partnership or a coalition with different financial institutions. And it's not just Washington, it's throughout the entire United States. But they've created a coalition with financial institutions to provide products to people who, just to ensure that they are getting products that are at a reasonable fees, right? So less fees associated with them, making sure that they have access to a bank account. Finding ways for people who maybe have moved to this country and were unable to open an account to help them get access to a checking or savings account, to help them start to establish credit. A lot of people don't know how the financial system works when they move to the United States. So this system is set up to assist them and make it easier for them to get access to a bank account. They are also not just for people who have moved to the United States, but also for people who maybe have had some bad luck, right? And they're trying to open it. They had to close a bank account because they overdrafted the account and financial institution will no longer give them an account, they forced them to close it. And they were down on their luck. Maybe that financial institution isn't listening to their whole story. Like everybody has a story. Let's listen to it and understand and see how we can help people. And that's what Bank On is doing, is that they're partnering with this financial institutions to make sure that they're offering accounts that people can work with to reestablish their banking history and show that they are responsible and that they can manage an account. So
I kind of want to piggyback off that.
yeah.
If you do get into that kind of pickle ever and your bank account does go negative, you should be comfortable and go in and ask those questions, because sometimes you're speaking to somebody and they're there to help you. And so if you ever get into any kind of situation like that, definitely go in. I always say it's always worth the ask. So don't ever let that inhibit you from going inside of your bank or your credit union and asking those questions. I think that's really important. And it's something that you get to control that, right? So you can ask that question. So if ever you see a little slash in front of your numbers, definitely ask those questions. Sometimes you may get those fees refunded, because we know life happens and life gets big. And so it's always worth it.
Yep. Be your own advocate. I think it's really important for y'all to know that a financial institution is going to be more understanding if they see somebody who's reaching out saying, hey, this is what just happened. And as long as it's not happening consistently, like, you know, you've had 29 courtesy pays and you're overdrafting your account and it's happened for 4 months, then we need to talk about how we can help you better manage your finances, right? So just things to think about there. So opening an account, this is a great one for Amber, since she does this every day,
Absolutely.
her and her team.
Opening an account, when you're going in to open an account, you're asking those open-end questions. You're finding out if this is the right financial institution for you. You want to come prepared. This is something that maybe you've already researched, you found online. You can get a debit card there that day. You already like some of the products, but you maybe have some questions. So you're going to want to go in and you're going to want to be prepared. You're always going to want to bring some form of government ID, whether that be a driver's license, a state issued ID, a passport, a military ID, and then you can bring, and you should bring, maybe a secondary form of ID, right? And so a secondary form of ID could be like your student ID, your social security card. Maybe you don't want to carry that, but you have the number. You're going to absolutely want to have that number. And then your membership card or your library card. If you don't have your social security card, or you don't have like an I-10 card, because you can also have a tax identification number, you just want to make sure that you have those. So, and then a valid mailing and physical address. Let's say your ID doesn't have the current address on it, or you recently moved, you're going to want to bring in some form of address verification. And when a financial institution is looking for a form of address verification, there's a program that we have to follow to make sure that we're abiding by the requirements from that NCUA or from that FDIC. And so you're going to want to bring in a piece of mail from maybe a utility company, or a vehicle registration, a pay stub may work, or maybe it's, you don't have one of those things, but you have something that's from the state, or it's from the county. And so you could maybe bring those in and we can have that conversation. And then of course, if you're under the age of 18, we do, you're going to always want to make sure that you have a parent or a guardian with you present. So then they could make sure that they can present the first form of identification. So if you're under 18, you may not have those things.
So along the same lines of opening an account, just thinking about someone who's going into a financial institution to access their account, has anybody ever gone in and wondered why, if I've used my debit card and I've showed it to them, why do I have to show them my identification at the same time? I just saw somebody who posted something online today saying why I swiped, I gave them my code, my PIN, and I still had to give them my ID. Why do I do that? And the reason is that the regulators are enforcing that because identity theft is such a massive problem that even if you know your account number, you gave them the PIN, there's still people who can get access to that. So us asking for your identification is for your own protection, because so many people are accessing people's information and taking advantage of them. So just a little bit of information and insight on that. Anything you'd add to that?
That's probably one of the main push is for checking your online banking regularly. I'm a lot like Jen. I check it every day. I want to make sure that the transactions that happened the prior day, or that I have something that maybe is coming out in the future, that the funds are available in that certain checking account. And so when I'm checking those things, I'm making sure, because not all the time do these fraudsters, we'll call them, do they do this humongous transaction that's going to catch an eye. Sometimes maybe it's a smaller transaction. So if you can catch it first because that's gone under the radar, then you're kind of being proactive, and then you can stop that. There are different things that happen that go on behind the scenes with, let's say, Visa and MasterCard. They have their own kinds of fraud protection as well, but there's certain parameters, and I couldn't tell you what the algorithm is to get into that. So, but that's why it's so important. Check your account on a regular basis.
Yep. So that falls into expectations, right? What's your expectations in managing your account? Checking your transactions regularly, knowing your balance, right? I'm trying to teach my 16-year-old that right now, setting up tools that will notify you if your account gets down to $50, have it send you a text so that you can transfer and you don't ever overdraft. Don't forget, never give someone your account information. I was talking to a member on the phone recently, and all of a sudden she started to give me her password. I was like, stop, don't give me your password. I'm not going to use it, but it's for your own safety. Don't ever give anybody your password to your online banking. Keep your receipts, understand the fees, and ask questions. And then the financial institution's responsibility is to monitor for fraud. This is something that we're doing constantly. And we have members who will say, I've got this, actually monitoring for fraud. One of the gals on our team, her mom is older and recently had somebody who started texting her, telling her that they were Sound Credit Union, and said, we need you to go down to the Bitcoin machine, and we need you just put in money because you owe Sound Credit Union this money. And so she put in like $1,000 to begin with. This was in Fife. She went to a Bitcoin machine at a Shell station in Fife. I didn't even know they had Bitcoin machines there. She puts in $1,000, and then she still has more money that he tells her that he ended up, I know it's a he because he ended up calling her, but he tells her that she needs to put more money in. So she starts to do it. Well, thankfully, Bitcoin is watching these transactions, and they called her and they said, did you receive a call or a text from somebody telling you to do this? And she's like, yes. And Bitcoin stopped the transaction. She ended up being out $1,000, but this is where these fraudsters are taking advantage. So whether it's an example of the financial institution, Sound Credit Union, Bank of America, Bitcoin, people are watching to help people. But this was a really hard lesson for this woman who's 72 years old to learn. But we really need to pay attention because they're doing everything they can to take advantage of people. So that's our responsibility, is to reach out and make sure we're monitoring. Communicate on fees and account charges. So we're always, whether we're posting our rates or fees, or we're sending information to our members and community so that they know. We're responsible for posting direct deposit. Anybody in here have direct deposit? Yep, my husband's came in yesterday at noon. I know when it comes every time, but it's our responsibility that we have these come in, whether it's posting direct deposits or posting bills for people. Twice a day it happens at Sound. It happens at like 7 in the morning, and then another one at noon or 1 that our accounting department's processing that in our IT department. And please know, we'll never give out your account info to anyone. We're not going to text you and say, give us your account information. We're not going to call you and say, give us your account number or anything like that. So be alert to any time you receive an email, call. If you receive an email and something doesn't look right, misspellings, they do happen with financial institutions. We had one happen recently, but they do happen. But be alert to that, because those are things that are examples of people who are fraudsters.
Ask those questions. You see something and you're curious about it. Is this something that's legitimate? Absolutely. Ask questions. Look at that email address. Where did it come from? Did it come from at my financial institution? Well, maybe I still feel weird about it. That's why it's important. Make those connections, make that relationship. You have a friend that also banks at the same place. Hey, did you also get this email? We will never ask you to provide that kind of thing via email. You come in and you want to access your account. I do have to verify you and find things that way, but I'm in person. I'm going to ask you those things in person. I would never ask you that through email.
Hey, Amber, if somebody was to go in and cash a check, say they got a check for $10,000 from a family member, why would we, if they're a member, why would we place a hold on that check? Like if they get a direct deposit, it automatically goes in their account. But if they're coming in and cashing a check, why do we place holds on those?
That check still has to go through the Federal Reserve to clear out of that other party's account. And so there have been instances, and it's something that's happened time and time again, because it's not an instant gratification. You bring in the check, they write that check, that money doesn't come directly out of their account. So it still has to go through the processing where there's a middleman, and that's the Federal Reserve, where they say, hey, somebody's clearing a check and it needs to be deposited here. So there's a window of time. Well, yes, of course, if you need the funds available, we're going to do everything we can to verify and try to give you those funds. However, if we are unable to do that, we'll place that on a brief hold for that to clear, for that to go through the Federal Reserve to clear. And so then you know that when it does clear, those funds truly are yours. If it goes through the Federal Reserve and it says, oh, the money's not there and the money's not available, now the money that was made available to you that maybe wasn't placed on hold gets taken out of your account, and that can draw you into a negative balance. So we're just trying to protect that. We want to make sure, of course, if you're getting it from a family member and it's trusted source, that's giving me a little bit of comfort. You trust that because I'm having that conversation with you. I know you, this is something that's happening all the time. But if it's that one-off chance and somebody maybe mailed that to you and told you to tell me it was from a family member, these are just common scenarios that we see. So we're just trying to safeguard you.
So, and that's where understanding those fees, know what happens if you overdraft. So when you go into open an account, make sure you're talking to those that you're working with about that, and learn about electronic transfer and cash apps. So that's where we go into all of this. Want to take this one? Yes. Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't speak to every institution, but I know that behind the scenes processing, when it comes to having an in-house, right? An in-house check, that's something that we're able to clear right away. And so if the funds are available and we're able to pull them right away, then absolutely, that's something it's considered a check. And so it will clear out of the other party's account as a check and then come into your account as a check deposit. However, it's kind of done behind the scenes as a transfer. So it doesn't have to clear through the Federal Reserve in our scenario. And I couldn't speak to all financial institutions because I know that financial institutions depositing a check, they have different hold policies. So that would be a question that I would have when I'm opening a bank account, is that what is the hold policy if I bring you a paper check? Right? Especially if that's something of importance to me. There are regulations that are set in place that if I do deposit a check via an ATM or at a teller window and I get an X amount of money available to me, $225 same day. And then it goes through its release process where it will give you X amount of dollars in 2 days and then again in 5 days. So you are able to get your money over time. But if you need those available right away, that's absolutely something that I would, especially if it's within the same financial institution. That's another thing that we get a lot, is that somebody will come in and maybe they don't have a bank account and so they want to cash a check. Well, if you do not have a bank account and you're not able, or you do not have time to open a bank account, and you do have a paper check, you can look at where that check comes from. Does that check come from Bank of America? Does it come from Sound Credit Union, BEC, wherever it may be? You can go into that financial institution and usually for a fee, you can process and cash that check there. So that's another thing. So sometimes if it's a large amount and you do need it available and I've exhausted all my options to try to make it available to you, I may recommend that you do go to that financial institution. And if they do charge a fee for cashing, maybe I get a cashier's check. Cashier's checks are verifiable. So we're able to call the financial institution and verify that that cashier's check was made payable to you and it was for this dollar amount. Can't place stop payments on those for 90 days. Yeah.
So how can you access your money? So the co-op and ATM or co-op shared branching, that goes back to what we were talking about, how credit unions work together. So you could stop off at any BECU ATM and you could access your TAPCO checking account with your tap code debit card, and you can take out the funds right there at no charge. So that's how that works. Using your phone to do Apple Pay, Cash App, Venmo, ATMs. How many of you have never written a check? It's real. Yep. If you don't have to, don't, right? It makes me laugh anytime I have to. But in making sure you have a debit card associated with your account. Then we have these great tools that financial institutions have, whether it's bill pay, taking pictures of your checks for mobile deposit, and then card controls. Anybody use card control on their phone, yeah. So I don't know if I brought my phone up here. No, you're okay, don't worry. So I can go into my app right now, and my husband and I have the same checking account. He has a debit card, and I can go in there and I can shut his debit card off because maybe he left it at the bar or he left it at home. He doesn't know where it's at and he can't find it. So I shut it off, and then nobody has access to his account. But then once he finds it, then I can go back out there and turn it on, and then he can use it again. So that's a really great tool to have, so that you have access to it. Have you had members of you use that?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
It's a huge tool. It's a sigh of relief when you find that thing. But if you can't find it, then of course, then you're talking to your financial institution about getting a new one. You can also, you want to make sure anytime you travel outside of the state and what you live, right? Because that's the address that your financial institution has on file, is that you go in and you put some kind of travel note on there. Hey, I'm traveling to Kansas. I'm going to be gone April 15th to the 22nd. And so and they may ask you for your phone number, because if they see an abnormal charge, they're going to call you. If they see something coming out of Kansas and they think that you're living in Tacoma, Washington, what's going on? They didn't tell us that they were leaving. So that's also something that you can do with your card controls.
So managing your account, we talked about this earlier, but making sure that you're using the tools that are out there. So what we don't have on here, and this is a really cool tool that I found out about a couple months ago. Have you heard of Clio? Clio is really cool. You all might like it. It is an app that helps you can connect it to your bank account, and it helps you track where your spending's at. And so everybody know down on Pack Ave is Crisp Greens, a little salad place. I like to go there, try to eat a little healthier. I don't know, right before it was probably November that I heard about Clio. And I signed up for it, and Clio will tell you if you're doing really good with your finances, or she will roast you if you don't. And so I downloaded it, and she instantly started getting on my case, telling me that you went to Crisp Greens 4 times in 1 month and you spent $89 at Crisp Greens. And I'm all, I spent $89 on salad? Like, I could make that at home and it's going to cost me $10. So I would highly recommend looking at Clio, because I think if you're not using your own financial institution's tools to help you manage your finances, I think Clio's a really kind of cool way to help keep you in line. We can all set up budgets. Life's going to happen. It's never perfect. I know I try to stay within my budget, but if I have maintenance on my car, or if something is due and it's more expensive than I anticipated, like, it might throw me off. But if I get back on and keep trying to stay within my budget, and at the same time treating myself and my family, like we all deserve, we work hard, right? You deserve to treat yourself, but stay responsible at the same time. And oh yes, Clio, CLEO. Yeah, it's a great app. So highly recommend at least looking at it. But another thing is, you're setting up bank accounts. The one thing that we talk about when we go out and talk to everybody, you are a bill, you are an expense. And if you can set up maybe a couple accounts, one with your main financial institution and another one at another location where it's not necessarily super easy to get to. I have another credit union that in order for me to access my funds, I have to drive there. I don't have a debit card. I don't have online banking with them. I have to drive to get the money, because that means I really need it. But I have 10% of my paycheck go into that account automatically. And I'm building my savings that way. And it's helping me to live with that being over here and I only need it when I have to have it.
Or when you want to spoil yourself.
True. But, you know, or if I'm going on, if I'm going on vacation or I'm doing a remodel in my house right now. So actually today I have to do that. So it's a really good way to help you save. So if you can do that, I would highly recommend it. It's a great opportunity to help yourself. Want to talk about online banking?
Sure, absolutely. So it looks like the online banking that we have here is under our bill pay. And so in the online banking platform, and most financial institutions are offering bill pay with a checking account, and that's typically a free service. And so what you can do is you can take those bills that you get on a monthly basis, and you can, or even bi-monthly, you can upload them, or not upload them, you would build them rather in your bill pay platform. And so you want to make sure that you have those because they've got your account number on them. That's something that needs to be referenced when they're sent in. And then there's your amounts. So you can set them if you know that you have Disney Plus coming out, it's $12.95 every month. That's something that's automatic. Just using that as an example, if that was something that we paid manually, you could add that and you can have that come out every single month. You can pre-schedule things, you can be in control of them. So this is just one portion of online banking. There's different services that you can do through online banking. So Jen was talking about Clio. There's also in most online banking platforms that I have with my financial institutions across the board is that there's a manage money platform as well. And so that's something that you can go into and you can see where your money is being spent. And it'll categorize these for you. So
this is a good example. So this one, like this is travel, eating out. So the housing will be in there, all that.
I had a pet one.
I know.
That's cute.
Sweet puppies.
Yeah. This, there are some payers that you'll have to pay, or payees rather, that you'll have to pay. And sometimes you'll go online to make that payment and there's a fee that's involved. When you use the bill pay will then pay, they will send them the funds either electronically if they can accept them electronically, or they will mail that paper check for you to have those bills paid. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's scheduled that you know that you're going to be getting every single month or every other month. You can build things anytime that you want. Let's say you use green landscaping, but I don't really need them right now. I don't have to cut my grass, but I will in the future. But they can just stay in there and they can stay dormant.
Yep.
Yeah.
So why to create a budget? We've kind of talked about that, just so that you have control of your money. That's at the end of the day, knowing where your money is going, understanding where you're spending it, how much set up so you know how much needs to go to housing, transportation, food. Try to stay within those budgets and set tools through either the managing your money app, or you can send texts that'll tell you you've spent $350 eating out this month and your limit's $400. So what are you going to do to cut back? Set goals for yourself. That's really important, everybody, is that we're setting goals, financial goals that are going to help us achieve our dreams that we want, right? Finances are one of the most stressful things that we face in our lives. So being able to understand where your money is going and how to control it's really important. So budgeting rules. So there's 50, 30, 20 rule is what it's called. So 50% is going to your needs. So 50% is going to your housing, transportation, food, all those things that we have to have in order to survive, to keep a roof over our families' heads. 30% going towards wants. So entertainment, eating out. Your goal is to stay within that window for yourself, and then saving for your future is at 20%. So whether it's saving for retirement, the vacation that we all want, or the new pair of shoes, trying to stay away from that instant gratification. We all want the latest iPhone or the latest gadget. It's always great, but if we can save for it, and maybe it's going to reduce in price in 4 to 5 months, and we're not going to go into debt over it, because if you put it on your credit card and you don't pay it off right away, what good did that do you if it was on sale? Interest rates on credit cards could be anywhere from 15 to 29% right now. It's astronomical. So think about that when you're using it, and if you can save and help yourself later. You got this one?
Yeah. So Again, going back to security, your financial institution's never going to call, email, or text you. They don't want your PIN. They don't want your password. You need help resetting those things. We don't need to know what they're going to be. We're going to give you some kind of random sequence of numbers and letters, and then you get to choose your own again. We'll never ask you for your full account number or any kind of sensitive information for that matter. It's okay to be skeptical. It's okay to ask those questions. There are apps that people have that fraudsters will use to do the caller ID tricks. It may pop up and say that it's your financial institution. Something sounds off, something's not right. I'm gonna have to call you back. Call them back, that's okay. You wanna always contact your financial institution, whether that be their email platform, on their website if they have a chat feature, or you go in, you call them, however it may be. Ask those questions.
Is it a good idea to waste their time by like playing along? Like, strict calls, play along, but I get
So the goofy side of me would say, you do what is in your heart. But and your time is valuable. You have to invest in yourself, right? So getting off the phone with them, however it may be, if you're on the phone with them for an extended period of time, are they going to start to change your mind? You maybe run into that risk, right? So maybe getting off the phone with them quickly. And then of course, if something like that does happen to you, contact your financial institution. We may not know as your financial institution that that's happening. And then we can get the word out to other members. So you could be helping, right? Because we are a community and we want to make sure that we're protecting one another. I have had people that have stayed on the phone and they have been convinced otherwise. Like they knew for sure in their heart and then they've been convinced otherwise. So I don't know that I would keep them on the phone any longer after having somebody share that with me.
Yeah. Any other questions or anything? Yes.
Are there any apps like that you recommend for like that are reliable for the budgeting?
So some people stick with Excel or writing it down, but mint.com has one. I would look at what your financial institution offers. Those are great ones. I believe Clio, you can set it up so that you can say how much you want to spend and everything like that. But a lot of them are free. So look what's out there and see what can help you.
You don't have to be dedicated to that one either. If it's not working for you, switch it up, do something else. I have forever, I started my bank account. I had a check register. I wrote everything down. I budgeted every month. That didn't work for me anymore. I changed over. I did a planner. I did different things. I started to use an Excel spreadsheet. I've done different apps. I've come back to my planner. You have to do what works for you in the flow of life.
And just know to be flexible because things are going to happen, and don't get discouraged, right? And if you're setting goals for yourself, write them down so that you don't forget. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm saving so that I can go on that trip for Hawaii, or I'm saving to pay off my student loan debts, right? Set those goals for yourself so that you have something to look forward to. And when you do celebrate, treat yourself. It's important. We work hard every day. So any other questions? Well, we really appreciate your time. At each of your table or each of your seats there in the paperwork is a survey. And as we come and we do these, we love partnering with UWT. We love coming and talking to you all. Your feedback is extremely valuable. It helps us know what we're doing well, where we could make improvements. And also, if there's topics that you want to share that you are interested in learning more about, please write them down. Our goal here as a financial institution, Amber and I, our colleagues down the street, we want to help you. We want to help you become financially confident in the decisions you make and make sure you have the tools and resources that are going to benefit you for your future. So any way we can help, if there's other topics, we may not be the experts, but we're happy to bring other folks in that we work with that can help you. So yeah, if you could fill that out and then just give them to Hisuk in the back at that table. She'll have them there and we'll collect them all. But we appreciate your time. Thanks for being here today and have a great week.
We did have one more little piece.
Yes. Yes. How
The
could I
next big
forget?
idea for your fintech
Thanks.
idea.
Yes, thanks. So at your desk here, we as Sound Credit Union and University of Washington are partnering together to help find the next big financial technology tool. So as a financial institution, we don't have all the answers and we don't see everything that you all see every day. So if you have an idea for financial technology that could be used and where changes could be made, look into entering our FinTech pitch. So students on all 3 campuses have the opportunity to participate in this, and you can win up to $1,000. But you go on, there's a QR code on here. You would submit what the problem is. So what you're trying to solve, what you know, somebody that in your family, maybe you had an experience with banking that isn't benefiting them. Write down the problem and how you would like to solve it. And then 3 finalists will make it to this next round where they'll present their idea in front of a panel of judges from Sound Credit Union, UWT, and then community partners to share their idea, get feedback. And then there's another competition to win $10,000 for entrepreneurs throughout the entire state. So if you have some ideas, if you have friends, have them enter. We'd love to hear your ideas and share it with others. So. Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Amber. And just to kind of go along with that, the winning idea last year in this FinTech competition was a financial literacy app for teenagers. And so it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It's just basically there's a problem in our society and something that could actually help solve that problem. And also that financial app for teenagers, help them to actually begin understanding financial education. And so thank you. And if you have any questions, Jen and Amber will stick around. And so please feel free to come up and ask them questions. And thank you for attending, everyone.